Okay, thanks for everybody for joining us today. This is an information session on the Kentucky Proud Buy Local incentive, which is a great program that can be utilized by schools and summer meal sponsors. What we're going to go over today, we're going to have some introductions and talk about why look at this program now. We're going to do a buy local program overview. We've got Food Service Director Wendy Greenwell here to talk about her experience using this program. Got some how-tos to go over, and at the end we'll have time for questions and answers. So we're going to try to do all this in 20 minutes and then have questions and answers for 10 minutes and hopefully have you know everything you need to know. So my name is Laurie White. I am the network coordinator for the Kentucky Farm to School Network, which was started in the year 2020, such a great year to start a new program. We coordinate activities with partners all across the state around farm to cafeteria, classroom activities, and school gardens. Some of the things that we do are I put out a monthly newsletter. We have a Facebook page. Our biggest activity of the year is around October, which is National Farm to School Month. We do the Farm to School Challenge to taste, learn, and grow in October. We represent Kentucky farm foods in school food trade shows and sometimes have grant opportunities for school gardens, sometimes for taste tests, depending on where we're able to put together some money to send out to schools for their activities. Noah, you want to say a bit about Kentucky Proud?
Yeah, so this is so the reason we have this in here is that to be a buy local participant, you as well as the farms who you're purchasing from have to be Kentucky Proud members. So the Kentucky Proud program as itself is a marketing brand for agricultural products. So there's different fundings through promotional stuff like POP, the buy local program, and a few others. And so it's really just to kind of increase the awareness and viability of Kentucky produce and Kentucky grown items and trying to show what they're worth in the marketplace.
Thanks, Noah. So Noah works for the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. And then we also have with us today Wendy Greenwell with Shelby County Schools Food Service Director.
Hi. Well, she asked me to just talk a little bit about my experience and what I have done. I know that we get some of the Kentucky Proud stuff comes automatically. We get credit through what chefs want. If it's a Kentucky Proud product, I've gotten automatic rebates through those from this program. But what I did was I used up all my LFS funds, and then I've been buying local ground beef and utilizing this program to give me a 15% rebate back on it. So that just helps with my per pound usage so that I can use more fresh ground beef. So we enjoy doing that, and we do it once a menu cycle. We do something with fresh ground beef so that we have a local farmer. And then I've also got local apples and stuff, and I'll be able to use it now that I've used up my grant funding. I'll be able to use this money to pay for part of that, or I get a rebate back on part of that. So I think anything you can get, it's like getting coupons or something. It just helps you buy some better products. And it's nice to be local, and we can, utilize the farmers, and they deliver to our schools, and they're happy to do that. And actually, they come to me. I've had farmers come to me to, do stuff. So it's just word of mouth. It gets around. And so anytime I can do that. So yeah, I just turned in a receipt, and actually one of my receipts, I had paid part of it with the rest of my LFS funds. I always have to say that very slowly because it doesn't doesn't work for me. But the other part of it, I was able to get a percentage back from the buy local. So that was nice. I didn't have to, pay whole price for the beef. So, but that's how I use it. I've been kind of, well, I came to your very first thing that you had in Frankfurt when you first started this, where we met with the farmers and stuff. So kind of been involved in that for since then, which was 2021, maybe something like that. So that's where I've utilized it.
Thanks, Wendy. So Leah mentioned this while we were gathering together, but I just wanted to say a bit about why at this particular moment to take a look at this program. Since the recent announcement of cancellation of further LFS or local food for schools funds, I've been getting a lot of questions from folks like, our schools want to keep buying local, but how are they supposed to pay for it now? And this program has been, the buy local program has been around for a long time, but hasn't been very well utilized by schools. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that even though local food for schools is done at the end of this month, there's still this Kentucky-based program that schools can use. Actually, I want to go back to that for just a second and say we haven't given up hope at the Kentucky Farm to School Network that some version of local food for schools is going to come back around, and we are doing some advocacy work around that. So if you want to know more about that, I've got a page on our website. I put our website in the chat for everybody. So we haven't given up on it yet, but in the meantime, here we are. And Noah, I will turn it over to you here.
Yes, sounds good. So yeah, so it's the reward system is based on a gold, silver, and bronze tier system as far as the direct farm impact that it has. And so you're eligible for reimbursement for up to 15% of those purchases based on that tier system. And then there's also a not eligible section as well, but that's just for purchases from farms who aren't Kentucky Proud or something of that nature. But those can still be reported to us, but it'll be graded gold, silver, bronze for the reimbursement portion. But yeah, it's available for restaurants, caterers, schools, and really just try to incentivize, purchasing more locally sourced ingredients. And a big thing is that it's a good way to get started purchasing local, and then hopefully through the annual caps and the lifetime cap, it gives you time to implement ways that you can continue it even after you graduated from the program. And we have a list of vendors in the office that we can send to you, and there'll be there's information on the welcome email we'll send should you apply. That'll have more information about places you can reach out for. And then at the end of this, I also have my contact information that you can reach out to me for any additional information on vendors or farms that we can be able to provide from the office. But like I said, it's really a big part of trying to transition and sustain that, and it gives you time, because there's no restraint on a time limit. So even though there's an $8,000 a year cap on the reimbursement, if you use 4,000, you don't immediately get 8,000 docked from your lifetime cap. You just use 4,000. So depending on your purchases, it could really sustain you for quite a few years. So this has a quick breakdown of the gold, silver, and bronze model. So the gold products are 100% farm raised, grown, produced, and those you will get 15% back. You'll get 15% back all the time, of course, unless you are meeting the threshold. For the silver, it's where it's blended with stuff that's from out-of-state ingredients, and you get 15% back as long as your gold purchases outweigh it. So were you to purchase $1,000 worth of produce, and 750 of that was gold, the other 250 that would be silver is eligible for the 15% reimbursement. And then like the bronze, like I mentioned before, those have a connection to Kentucky, and maybe they are processed or manufactured in some part in Kentucky, or they have a negligible direct farm impact. We still like to see those reported because it gives us an idea of what's being purchased at the local level, and it kind of gives us a better idea from the Kentucky Proud standpoint as to where they're doing their manufacturing and sourcing for things. The next few slides kind of have a breakdown of each of those sections just to try to give more clarity on the tiers. Really, for the gold tier, it's a lot more direct. You're buying whole beef, chicken breast, dairy products, cornmeal, stuff like that. The silver portion can get to where it's more kind of discerning from our end, and when you submit invoices or any kind of receipts to us, I think we mentioned this on the application document as well, but you don't need to go through and mark what's eligible or what tier. We do all that in the office just to clarify. We can check with our active Kentucky Proud members and everything to make sure that we're trying to make sure that we get the reimbursements right to continue the program. So a big thing for the silvers would be like sauces, jams, jellies. Those are a lot where we see the silver come into play. And
I'll add in here, if I might, Noah.
Yes.
I know one item that was used a lot in the local food for schools program was Prairie Farms milk, and my understanding is that falls under this silver category because Prairie Farms buys milk from farms in this region, but not all from Kentucky, and it's co-managed.
Yes, yeah, they buy, even though it is local, it's local to a certain definition of the miles, but it's not 100% all Kentucky milk. Yes, and those are instances where it may take some time on our end to make sure we clarify that from a producer or a vendor that we hear from. And then for the bronze ingredients, this is, like I said, we like to hear from these because we like to see what's being offered and what's available in certain areas. But the bronze portions are not eligible for any reimbursement. But like I said, it still gives us a good idea, and we like to see it because you're still supporting a Kentucky business, even if it is a bronze product.
So Wendy, you feel free to chime in here at any point with anything else you want to bring up.
I didn't realize the milk is it just Prairie Farms or is there other local milk? I didn't know that was eligible. So that's interesting. So is Borden's, is that a local farm or Kentucky Proud?
I'd have to check with our department to see what their tiered direct farm impact would be.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. I just didn't know milk was part of that. That's interesting. But I think I've bought strawberries from them. Well, I don't know that it was her actually. I brought strawberries from Stepping Stone Farms and her, yeah. So
yeah, that's Stepping Stone Farms.
Is it? Okay. Okay. I didn't meet her when she brought it around. So yeah, so that was fun last year. We got those. So no, I can't. I mean, it's easy. Just make sure you're have all your paperwork in, with Kentucky Proud and everything. So some of it's kind of done for you. Other things, like I sent Noah some stuff the other day. I just scanned my receipts to him or invoices to him, and it's really easy to handle once you have your paperwork in. That's the main thing.
So Noah, do you want to talk about the two different ways that you can get purchases?
Yes, the distributors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so obviously you can do your individual invoices and receipts and send those to me. You can send them physically through copies to our address here in Frankfurt, or you can scan them, as Wendy had said. If you have a lot of them online as well, if it's a huge volume, you can also use sendspace.com to send them through a link, or you can do a Google Drive link as well. And we'll just open that in our office and go through them that way as well. You also have the option for a distributor to submit your receipts. So for like Clem's Foods or What Chefs Want, they can send, if you buy, say you were buying all your items from them, they send me a full report at the end of each quarter with all their schools, restaurants that they service, and then I can go through those, and that will count if you submitted your invoices, and you obviously are getting the reimbursement, but they just do the reporting for you because they go ahead and track it on their end as well. Now, if you have any other eligible purchases, you would obviously have to send those separately, but that can help you if you're doing all of your purchasing through them, and it makes it kind of streamlined, both on the school side and for the What Chefs Want side, because they already are keeping a lot of that information as well.
Now, if a school's making or a summer meal sponsor is making a purchase directly from a farmer, what do they need from that farmer to submit that expense?
So we would need an invoice. Let me find directly what it needs to have. So the invoice has to have the vendor or farmer name, the date of sale, the business address, an item description. That doesn't have to be, it could be like a case of tomatoes. It doesn't have to be extremely detailed, just some sort of description about how if it was a different item, for example, like cherry tomatoes or bulk tomatoes, case tomatoes, something like that. It has to have the quantity on there and then just the total sale amount. And the reimbursement is for the price of the item itself, not no taxes or delivery fees or stuff like that. So that'll have to be what the invoice or report would have to have on it, so we can make a justification for what tier would be and what reimbursement amount it would be for. And we send out an email. We'll send out an email at the end of each quarter that so if for quarter one, all reimbursements need to be submitted during the month of April for quarter one. And that is how it continues throughout the year. Now, for your enrollment date, you're eligible for reimbursement from your enrollment date onward with the program. So if you submitted your application in middle of February this year, you would be eligible for reimbursement for any purchases that happened after that enrollment date up to the end of the quarter. And like I said, and at the end of each quarter, our office sends an email out just reminding you of the dates, the upcoming quarters and deadlines, the link for the Send Drive and the Google Drive as well. And then we get those processed from our payment side to the end. And so, yeah, this is kind of the lifetime cap and what you're eligible for. So the annual cap is $8,000. Your lifetime cap is $36,000, and then or until funding is depleted. I was speaking with people in our office. The last time the funding was depleted was in 2021, which was, I think they had to do a lot of backlog of stuff that would happen during 2020 with COVID. But all the funds come through ag development funds, tobacco settlement. So we have our budget, but that's how it goes for the reimbursement rates. And importantly, too, the second point here about having to re-enroll. So it's a biannual basis. So right now it's the 2025-2026 portion. So you submit an application, and then following for the 2027-2028, you would just send in a renewal. And through the application process, we get an easy vendor form filled out and everything. That doesn't have to be resubmitted once you have a vendor code through the state.
And then I threw this in here. I just wanted everybody to know there's limitations on the program, but it takes a while to get there. So there's only two school districts in Kentucky that have maxed out that lifetime max benefit. And that is, you see here, Madison County Schools, but the first school district to do it was Bowling Green Independent Schools. So lots of room to get the benefits of this program.
Yeah, so this is the first thing to make sure. It's just to make sure you're a Kentucky Proud member and that you're up to date on your application and your renewal. Those links there will take you to the login and provide more information. And if you have any more questions as well, I can direct you to the gentleman in our office who handles those applications if you were to have any questions.
So first become a Kentucky Proud member and then
submit your application. So the application has to be filled out. There's about 6 pages of it. And then there's also, you have to have an affidavit with it as well that must be notarized. And you can send that in, you can scan that in to me, or you can send it in physically as well. And then also, if you don't have a vendor, if you don't have a Kentucky vendor number, there will be part of the registration PDF online. There's a easy vendor form registration that you'll fill out and submit with us as well. And it has the first 3 pages of the application layout, a full description of the program, a few additional, a couple of additional items to be addressed for guidelines, and as well as a breakdown of the gold, silver, and bronze table.
And again, I want to say this is a screenshot from the Buy Local website where it says Chef's Corner. A lot of the language on the website is saying restaurants, chefs, but everywhere that it says restaurants, it means schools also.
Yeah, it says restaurant. So the Buy Local program came about in 2017 to replace the restaurant rewards, and it was replaced, from my understanding, to streamline some of the reporting process and to include more food service people. So cafes, caterers, stuff like that, schools, to be implemented into the program for eligibility. And then there's my contact information if you have any more questions about the program. Grace Reagan is who was in charge of Buy Local at our office for the previous few years. She's left now. She left in the middle of March. So as of right now, I'm handling it. And so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
So this is your chance if you've got questions about how this program works or what you can do with it.
And we have a full list of distributors as well who are part of the program. Just What Chefs Want and Clem's are the ones who currently submit bulk invoices to us for reporting. I can send anybody the application document through an email too. If they want to email me individually, I can send that to them. I can send an example of like a vendor list that we have with locations as well. Capstone Farms. Let me check real quick. And the list we send out is not an exhaustive list of all. It's just ones that we've seen on reports that have been reported.
David, that's going to depend on whether anybody has submitted your receipts for this reimbursement program. If nobody's been using this program to buy your stuff, then you're probably not on that list yet. But I know that Tony Jackson is participating in Buy Local, but I don't know if she's submitted her purchases from your farm through this yet.
Yeah, the Kentucky Proud membership is up to date. We see if it's on our buy local list.
Do you know? No, I think there's about like a dozen school districts that are currently participating. Is that right?
Let me clarify that.
Okay.
Current as of 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
Looks like right now it's close to getting close to 50 at this point.
It's close to how many?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong
Okay.
spreadsheet. That's for the 2023, 2024.
But
I'm still, to be truthful, I'm still getting my bearings around some of the
sure.
Excel sheets information.
There's a listing of all the participating food service entities on the Buy Local website if anybody wants to check it out. So we have a question in the chat, Noah, from Stacy. Does each farm that wants to participate have to fill out the Buy Local paperwork to be eligible?
So the farm just needs to be a Kentucky Proud member. The farm itself doesn't fill out a Buy Local. So any kind of items that are going to resell are not eligible. So if you were to buy something that you were going to put like into a gift shop or a store like that, those items are not eligible for reimbursement. So the farm just has to make sure that they're a Kentucky Proud member. And on our end, we just need to be able to verify that their status as a Kentucky Proud member. But for the buy local part, that's on the food service side. That'd be on the school side to fill that out. The farm wouldn't need to fill anything for the buy local program out.
So that two-step enrollment, the farm only has to do the first step to be Kentucky Proud registered. Which do you know how many we're at right now? Kentucky Farms registered by local or Kentucky Proud. It's a lot.
I do not know. I had to check with the gentleman in our office. I know that there was an uptick. I think I think the deadline's coming up for the applications. So I think there's been a big jump recently, but I don't know off the top of my head. The amount of schools so far is 24. Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of farms that are already registered with Kentucky Proud, but it's not a difficult process for farms, and it's free for farms to sign up. So, and if you have a farm that you want to purchase from and they're not already registered with Kentucky Proud, KDA Kentucky Proud people will help them get set up.
Yeah, we can reach out to people to offer kind of advice or guidance for what they need to fill out the application, making sure they're filling out the questions on the application right, to make sure that all their offerings are reflected as well on the website. Because that can be a good resource for the schools as well. If there's any kind of doubt or uncertainty about what's offered around your area, that can be a good resource to find people who are looking. And a lot of farmers and producers are looking, would be happy to do that as well, because it gives them more of an outlet to get into more market outlets.
Well, we are right at half an hour. If there's any last questions, we'll take a last question. If not, we will say thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your interest in Kentucky Farm Foods. And just so you all know, tomorrow's session is going to be a repeat of the same information. So there's not any reason to come back tomorrow unless you come up with a question that you didn't think of today. And then we'd be glad to have you.
Yep. Feel free to reach out as well if any questions come up later.
All right, thank you.